Hey guys, George and I wanted to thank all of the Dirty Bits podcast listeners for tuning in every Tuesday on the show. We're so excited at how fast our community is growing, and we're having so much fun connecting with you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We were especially happy to chat with and share some laughs with our superfans this week, Mary Virginia, Heather P., Paul C., Tim S., and Hannah O., as well as Matt J., Jen W., Scott K., Kenyon L., Stacy P., Marquise J., Jennifer B., Helen B., Trenton B., Nick J., Penny K., Jordan L., Maggie D., Brooke V., Sherry Ann, Steve P., and Rhett H. We appreciate you guys so much and are so happy you enjoy these dirty bits of history with us. If you'd like some more dirty bits in your life, and just because a couple of you have been asking, we're launching a Patreon in the near future. So be sure to keep an eye out on our social media pages, so you'll be the first to know when we announce the official launch date. You can also stay up to date on all things Dirty Bits on our website at tawnyvoice.com/dirtybits. After the show, get your mind out of the gutter and enjoy some promos from a couple of our favorite podcasts. Hi, I'm Tawny Plattis, and you're listening to Dirty Bits, the podcast that explores the dirty bits of history your teacher probably left out. The Sultanate of Women was a 130-year period that began in the 16th century, where the women of the imperial harem of the Ottoman Empire took names and kicked ass. The woman who ushered in what is commonly referred to as the age of power-wielding badass bitches by those who study the Ottoman Empire, or at least this person who studies the Ottoman Empire, was called Roxolana, Roxolana, Roxoline, Roxolane, Rosa, but is most famously known as Hurrem Sultan. Hurrem was born in what used to be Poland and is now present-day Ukraine, possibly to a Russian Orthodox priest. She was captured and sold into slavery at just 15 years old in the 1520s by the Crimeans, who were raiding the Kingdom of Poland at that time on the reg. So they take her to Istanbul, where she's chosen for Suleiman the Magnificent's harem, which is a big freaking deal, because Suleiman's dad had just unexpectedly died. So he's partying in Manisa, and he gets the news, and he's like, oh, damn, I have shit to do now. You guys, we need to pack it up. I have to go to the capital. So he gets to headquarters, looks around, and he's up to his eyeballs in office work. He's making all these major legislative changes and reforms in education, taxation, and criminal law, in addition to being an accomplished goldsmith and poet. He was a huge patron of culture, overseeing what is considered the golden age of the Ottoman Empire, when fantastic developments were made in art, literature, and architecture. He was described by the Venetian envoy as being only 25 years old, tall and slender, but tough, with a thin and bony face. Facial hair is evident, but only barely. The Sultan appears friendly and in good humor. Rumor has it that Suleiman is aptly named, enjoys reading, is knowledgeable, and shows good judgment. So it sounds like a pretty hunky 16th century most eligible bachelor goes to visit his harem, and he meets the newly arrived Ukrainian dreamboat they've begun calling Hurrem, which means the cheerful one. She was a slave sold into this harem, but she's like, okay, I see what's going on here. I have to get in with the Sultan, pop out some boys, and I can vastly improve my situation, because I am not about to be a slave. So she develops this whole persona. She's incredibly charming, and she immediately catches the Sultan's eye in slow motion and everything. It's also around this time that the harem, which was separated from the palace where the government dealings happened, mysteriously burned to the ground. So they moved the harem to the palace, And it was the first time where it was located where the Sultan lived. And Suleiman sees Hurrem one day and is like, oh, who is that Marilyn Monroe-esque Eastern European goddess? Sparks fly, the earth shakes, she totally rocks his little world. He's completely taken with her. Under his pen name, Muhibi, Sultan Suleiman composed this poem for Hurrem Sultan. A throne of my lonely niche, my wealth, my love, my moonlight, my most sincere friend, my confidant, my very existence, my Sultan, my one and only love, the most beautiful among the beautiful, my springtime, my merry-faced love, my daytime, my sweetheart, laughing leaf, my plants, my sweet, my rose, the only one who does not distress me in this world, my Istanbul, my Karaman, the earth of my Anatolia, my Bad Kashan, my Baghdad, my Khorasan, my woman of the beautiful hair, my love of the slanted brow, my love of eyes full of mischief. I'll sing your praises always. I, lover of the tormented heart, Muhibi, of the eyes full of tears, I am happy. So he had it bad. Also sounds like what me and my husband have. She becomes his favorite concubine in like half a second. He's completely in awe of her. She's not only gorgeous, but she's also extremely intelligent. When she arrives at the palace, she takes as many classes as she can, learning the language of the Ottomans, math, astronomy, geography, diplomacy, literature, history, even alchemy, with evidence that she may have even dabbled in perfumery. They develop this incredibly intense bond, and she builds this unprecedented influence over the Sultan. She was, like I said, extremely intelligent and often advised Suleiman on state matters, foreign policy, and international politics. In fact, they were so tight, people were saying she had some sort of like Stevie Nicks type witchy woman power over him. So she was a really controversial figure at the time. So this didn't all sit too well with Suleiman's main consort, Mahidran. They had this legendary rivalry, with reports of Suleiman's mother playing the peacemaker, making them wear a big shirt and hug it out, I'd imagine. Regardless, the rules didn't really apply to Hurrem. The harem had a one-mother, one-son principle, designed to prevent the mother's influence over the Sultan and rivalries to the throne between brothers. But Hurrem went heh and proceeded to birth 5 sons in about 5 years, no longer making Mahidran the mother of the Sultan's only son. But their rivalry gets so bad that Mahidran jumps Hurrem in the hall one day and just pummels the shit out of her like a trashy competitive VH1 reality show. This angers Suleiman so much he banishes Mahidran and their son from Istanbul. However, according to the Turkish historian Nesdet Sakuglu, Turkish and foreign writers have written fictitious novels depicting these dramatic, over-the-top catfights, and they weren't exactly truthful. But either way, Hurrem throws everyone for a loop when she comes running out of her room one day with a big, fat Tiffany's rock on her finger and goes, "Oh my gosh, we're engaged!" And this is fucking ludicrous because by getting married, they're violating a 200-year-old custom that said you can't just marry your concubine. Supposedly, this bizarre engagement came from Hurrem's conversion to Islam, which her husband totally supported. But right after her conversion, she goes, "Whoa, hey, we can't sleep together anymore, because of my religion." And Suleiman gets really pissed for 3 days before he realizes she's the best he's ever had and gives in and proposes. Though I personally couldn't find any evidence that totally substantiated that story, it can be noted that it was included as a scene in the very popular Turkish TV series. There are clips of the show online, and it's incredible. Definitely make sure you check it out. Hurrem was the first former slave who had ever become a sultan's actual lawfully recognized spouse, and she was the first to receive the title Heseki Sultan, which is basically the same thing as being an empress consort in Europe. She was given one of the largest salaries of any Heseki, and because of her influence on the Sultan, she was one of the most powerful women in not only the Ottoman Empire, but the world. Hurrem was also seemingly responsible for the special relationship between her native kingdom of Poland and the Ottoman Empire, which she was apparently ruling. She actually wrote 2 letters to King Sigismund II Augustus of Poland in her lifetime, one congratulating him on his ascension to the throne after the death of his father. She told him that her close servant, Hassan Aga, had a message for him to be delivered by word of mouth and to trust him because he was super on the DL. He wrote something back to her, and then she responded to that saying, "I'm so glad you're happy and healthy," because he was practicing mindfulness or something. "And I'm so glad you like my husband so much. Like, the bromance you guys have really just warms the cockles of my heart." And she tells the Polish king that her husband straight up said to her, "With the old king, we were like brothers. And if it pleases the all-merciful God, with this king, we will be as father and son." And then she sent him a bunch of swag with the letters, 2 pairs of linen shirts and pants, some belts, 6 handkerchiefs, and a hand towel. And then she promised to send a special linen robe as soon as she got her threadless store up and going. During her lifetime, the Ottoman Empire pretty much had a peaceful relationship with the Polish state, which many historians largely say she had a hand in securing. Which of course meant she was a nasty woman, and there were a ton of rumors circulating accusing her of witchcraft, manipulation, and intrigue. The typical. See, Suleiman's first main squeeze, Mahadran, had already given birth to the first son of the Sultan, a kid named Mustafa. Mustafa was in line to inherit the throne, and in the tradition of the culture, all of his brothers would be killed to ensure the stability of the empire, because the simplest solution is usually the best. So Hurrem is like, no, you are not about to kill my kids. And she sets about eliminating those who support Mustafa's claim to the throne. Like, the Sultan has this Grand Vizier, Ibrahim Pasha, in 1523, who supports Mustafa. But in the Ottoman Safavid War, he fucked up majorly when he gave himself the title of Sultan, and he kept picking fights with his mentor over stupid shit like, "No, I want Selim to lead the charge." And then he'd be like, "No, I want Abdul to lead the charge. Brah, I hate you. No, I hate you." And Hurrem is looking at this guy, and she goes to her husband, and she's like, "You gonna let this shit stand?" And Suleiman goes, "Yeah, you're right," and proceeds to execute him. Goes through 3 Grand Viziers in 8 years, and eventually settles on appointing Hurrem's son-in-law, Rustam. So as the years go by, Mustafa is losing supporters, and he's accused of trying to overthrow his father and secure the throne, which has still neither been proven or disproven, and Suleiman had him executed. Then when he replaces Rustam, Hurrem's son-in-law, with Kara Ahmed as the new Grand Vizier, that bastard only lasts 2 years before he's strangled by the order of the Sultan. And then Hurrem's son-in-law mysteriously gets his job back. But what's truly interesting about all of that is it's largely based on secondhand accounts and hearsay. 16th and 17th century Ottoman historians, as well as European diplomats, observers, and tourists, weren't permitted into the inner circle of the imperial harem. The harem was surrounded by multiple walls, and all of the people recording the events at the time were mostly just relying on the testimony of servants, courtiers, and just the gossips circulating around Istanbul. It was basically like getting news from Facebook. Even if the drama wasn't completely factual, Hurrem still led a scandalous life, breaking tradition left and right. She was the first woman to stay in the Sultan's court until the day that she died. Typically, a concubine would only stay in court until their first child turned about 16. But they conveniently tossed that rule right out the window, and the whole fam-bam stayed at the court. In her later years, Hurrem also focused some of her charity work on constructing houses, specifically designed to help women in need, like building a women's hospital near the women's slave market. She built a mosque, 2 Quranic schools, and a public soup kitchen to feed the poor and needy that fed at least 500 people twice a day. Hurrem passed away on April 15th, 1558, when she was in her 50s of unknown causes. She's buried in a domed mausoleum decorated depicting the Garden of Paradise, which has been suggested as an homage to her smiling and joyful nature. And that alone speaks so many volumes about this Ukrainian dynamo. She was the daughter of a man who was supposed to be a Russian Orthodox priest. She was captured by a band of dickheads and sold into sex slavery at the age of 15. In just a couple of months, not only was she changing ancient traditions in a foreign empire, she wielded considerable influence and did it to such an effect. Her reputation was of a cheerful, happy human being. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or corrections for me, let me know in the comments section. See you next Tuesday.
Hey true crime fans, have you listened to Wine and Crime yet? We're a new true crime comedy podcast hosted by 3 childhood friends who chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash our worst Minnesotan accents.
Each week, us gals pick a true crime topic and pair it with a delicious wine before delving into the background and psychology behind the crime. Then we share and speculate wildly about a couple of bonkers cases related to the topic.
Past episodes have included necrophilia, cults, crimes of passion, cruise ship disappearances, exorcisms gone wrong, all this over a bottle of wine, or, let's be real, 3.
We're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and a number of other podcasting apps. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod, and check out our website and blog at www.wineandcrimepodcast.com.